The discussion so far has focused on what happens if our firm changes its price and how its customers could respond, or how the customers of other firms could respond by buying more of our product. But we also need to think about how things could be changing in other markets and how that could affect our demand. These kinds of measures are called cross-price elasticities. And the word cross comes in there because we're looking across different markets. So something happens in some other market for some other good, and it's going to influence the demand for our product. We've seen this idea already when the demand curve idea was introduced. We saw that the demand curve could shift at any given price, one way or the other, depending on what was going on in other markets. So one could consider changes in the prices of substitute goods, and that could affect the demand for the firm's product at any particular price. There was also a discussion in the text of what could happen if people's incomes change and how that could affect the demand for our product. We're not actually going to come up with some measure of how incomes affect demand. We're going to focus here mostly just on prices. So the idea here would be, for example, if the price of some substitute good goes down, then that's going to decrease the demand for our product at any particular price. So again, as usual, this is just kind of a thought experiment that's saying, what would happen to our demand if the price of some substitute product goes down and we kept our price at $50? It's a completely separate question then to ask, what then should our price be? Should we lower our price in response? So we just want to measure the responsiveness. And so we're going to want to look at the change in the quantity demanded, and as usual, we're going to express that in percentage terms. And we're going to want to compare that with the percentage change in price that took place in the other market. Well, what else could happen? We'll look at an example later in which, say, the price of some complementary good changes. So, in other words, a good that's used with the product that we're selling. Let's just consider how we'd want to measure this price responsiveness. We're going to measure that by thinking about this cross-price elasticity of demand. And in this case, we're just going to consider the percentage change in demand for our firm's product, not in response to the percentage change in the price of the firm's product itself, but the change in the price of some other product. So we'll define that in the usual way as just the ratio of these percentage changes, where in this case P with a subscript O just means the price of some other good which influences the demand for our product. We're going to measure these percentage changes in the same way that we did with the price elasticity of demand. So we'll express it as a percentage of the average quantity and the average price in each case. It turns out in this particular situation that there's no need to use an absolute value. In fact, the sign of this cross-price elasticity tells us something about the relationship between these products. So to illustrate this idea in a more concrete way, I've prepared the second exercise for you to do. So turn to that exercise now, spend some time doing it, and then you can go to the slide that discusses the solutions to that exercise.